So today we are talking about what should matter to you most when working with clients and families, guardians, decision makers, all of it. And I'm really excited to talk about this today because this has really allowed me to scale my business so much farther and faster, right? And yeah, we're going to get into that today. When I tell you all that this is really important, I think I say that about most things I come to you and talk to you about, but this is because we're talking about what should matter most when you're looking or working, with your clients and your families. And I truly, truly, truly believe that it comes down to one thing. Absolutely, one thing. I thought about things, I went back and forth, and they all angles point back to this one thing, and that is trust. That is trust. The reason why I decided on that, which all angles kept pointing back to that, is because when you're building trust and you're setting expectation with someone, it's a lot easier to build that trust when the expectation is set and followed. Does that make sense? So you can offer the world, right? You can have the best of the best of the best, but if you don't have trust, right, and rapport with your families, it's really going to be hard, or your decision makers, your clients, it's really going to be hard to keep those clients, right? It's about retention. We don't want to always have to be filling beds all the time, or enrolling people in our program all the time, or all of those things. Like, we want them to come in and we want them to stay in, and setting those expectations up front, of what those boundaries are, what you are going to do, what you are not going to do, and then follow through on those heavily is really going to help you. It's really going to help you. One, it's going to let them know what they can expect from you and not cross the line, right? And vice versa. It's also going to help you understand who the person is that you're bringing into that program or home or whatever. You might get a vibe that that person is not a good fit for you, right? You might get a vibe that they're too needy, or they're expecting too much. Like, here's an example. I met with a guardian, what was it, last week? And one of her qualms with a home was that they didn't sit down and play games with her daughter like they said they would. Like, that seems like not, from, I'm sitting on the other side of it. I'm like, that's making you want to move your adult child. But it was about the follow through. Like, she didn't have trust in them. There were several other reasons, but that was like one of the line items. So, but that was one of the things. They did not sit down with her child, and adult child, mind you, and play these games with her. So what was happening is that they overpromised, and they said, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. There was no systems, there was no structure put in place. They just kind of mouthed off that they were going to do that, and so that it sounded great. They moved in. It's only been 4 months. Things aren't going that great. There's not that trust. In 4 months, there should be a certain amount of trust built. There should be a certain level of expectation, actually a very high level of expectation being met. There are all of those things, and if you don't have trust, it's really hard to build that bond and keep those clients in your home's programs and services. I'm telling you, it is not my life's work to constantly fill these beds. It is not my life's work to constantly fill the programs, right? It's not, I don't want to do that. I want to fill it. I want to have somebody in there, and I want to, retain that person. I want them to love to be in my care. I want their guardian to love to know that their adult child or children, I have children in my services too. I want them to know that they love being here. And what Ariana says is what she does. So as I started thinking about all the things, and if we sat down, I could go through so many different line items, but all trails essentially lead back to trust, right? They lead back to trust. And when you have some difficult clients in your care, because not all residents are the best of the best. Not all clients and program participants are the best of the best. But here's the most beautiful thing is that when you have trust, when you have rapport, it's not going to matter, not necessarily about what the individual says. Say if you have a client that is a habitual liar, right? They like to exaggerate. They're kind of a habitual liar. They like have these things come up. It is not going to matter what they say about you or your staff. I mean, obviously we want to be treating them right? We definitely want to do that, but it's not going to matter as much. You're not going to be on the defense all the time of, oh, they said this or they said that. Like, the family is going to trust you and your team to care, right? That client is going to know, or maybe they don't know, that they're being a habitual liar and they're perseverating on things or whatever it might be. They know and they trust that the level of care you provide is not going to diminish, right? There's that level of rapport. I don't know if there's any clinicians in the group, but the big thing with clinicians, and sometimes it frustrated the hell out of me when I would have youth in my youth home, was that these clinicians would spend like 6 months building rapport. And it was all of this fluff and games and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how can you even work on anything? But on the other side of that, of being a provider, I don't want to lead with fluff and games, but I do understand the importance of rapport, right? Of that trust with both the guardian and the client and the rest of the care team, right? Because we just don't have 2 people we're talking about. We're talking about other people, right? So that is what, that is a big thing. And that's what all trails kept leading back to for me. I was talking to a lady today, and I might have mentioned her on a live before, but she pays like close to $10,000 a month for private pay for a loved one. She writes a check every single month for private pay, and her loved one had fallen and went to the hospital and is in what is it? It's not treatment, but it's like therapy or rehab or something like that. And this particular person is still paying, by choice, $5,000 a month to hold a bed. Why? Why do you think that person is doing that? That loved one of hers who had fallen is not even at that facility, isn't even there. Might not be there for 7 weeks. I don't know. 8 weeks. I don't know. Because of the fall and what happened. But she's paying that, and she's glad to pay that because it's a good home. And there's some trust built, right? There's some rapport built. And if it wasn't a good home, what if she would have felt like, oh, well, they weren't doing their jobs and that's why he fell or they fell, right? But she knows that they're doing their job. She trusts that they're doing their job. This gentleman fell, he fell, and she's not blaming it. Like, she trusts that. She trusts them. So when things happen, like, all roads, in my opinion, lead back to trust. And having that trust, having that good trust, having that good rapport with these families, with these residents, it's essential in this business. Again, you're not trying to constantly market that you have an open bed or you have openings in your program. You're trying to do this for retention. I feel like this particular topic is really overlooked because folks they're constantly thinking about filling the bed, right? Getting the money, doing the things, but they're not necessarily thinking about keeping that person. Retention is not really talked about. I haven't really heard anybody talk about retention, right? And it's something that we have to pay more attention to, especially as providers and wanting to hit our income goals, right? We don't want to be constantly chasing after another client or another resident or another program participant. And the best way to do that is, one, provide excellent, superb, amazing premier care. And the second way is to make sure that you have some good old trust, and that you recognize that that matters to these families, and it matters to the guardians. Here's another example. One of my residents, since COVID happened, her behaviors have been like escalated. Now, this woman is the sweetest woman ever. Like, amazing. She is so sweet. But when COVID happened and all of her activities kind of fizzled away, like, she escalated in behaviors, like a lot. Like, it's just not normal. And her mother, is her guardian, knows that we provide premier care and we do anything we could do to make sure that this resident is happy and healthy, and her quality of life is just amazing. Well, this resident has, over the last, I don't know, since the Rona happened, gets mad when people do not answer the phone, like when she calls family. And she snaps her phone in half. I shit you not. She snaps her phone in half. And so the mother is not in the same city. The mother knows that me and my team would absolutely help her with this phone if we needed or whatever, made sure that she's able to call. But what happened was that this individual snapped the phone. We didn't know that the phone was broken. We didn't know those things. So she hadn't talked to her mother in, I don't know, like 4 days. And after that time, she reached out to me and she asked me, hey, can you check with so-and-so? I can't get a hold of them. And so we did, found out the phone was broken, went through all of the things. Now, that mother, that guardian could have came to me and been like, why didn't you guys know? Why didn't this? Why didn't that? She could have accused all kinds of things. But she didn't. Like, she knows we take care of her, I almost want to say her name. I can't break HIPAA. But she knows that we take care of her adult child. She knows we do a very great job. She knows that she can typically get a hold of this person. And she also knows that this person's behaviors have been escalating and she's snapped 3 phones in half. She knows that. So she is going to be understanding that she can't get a hold of this individual, and it's taken 4 days for really us to realize that this phone is broken. So that's when I'm talking about trust. Like, these people will really keep their loved ones in your care. They will place, like the people who place clients, like those decision makers, those care coordinators, those social workers, whoever, they'll place more clients in your homes, in your programs, when they know and they can trust that, that they're going to be taken care of. So that is the best thing I can say to that. But it's a big deal, and it should matter to you, and it should be something that you're thinking about. And it doesn't matter if you're in if you have unlicensed home, if you have a licensed home, if you have an independent living home, if you have a licensed assisted living home, if you have a group home, if you have day hab, if you have community hab, if you have, it doesn't matter. Any service, like, you have to understand that this applies to any service. And so just keeping that in the forefront is going to be something that's really helpful for you. Okay, so that's all I have for today. Well, that is it for today, and I will see you next time. Bye.